is a regular public school. We have the same money that everybody else has. But to work here is like a dream because I have a lot of my own power to decide what happens when.
I didn't understand everything. And for a while there was like touch and go. And then when I saw what my daughter was learning, it was not just rote memorizing, but that she was actually learning and retaining what she learned. It was, I could sit back and say, no, this is education.
I was so shy, so I didn't really talk like my opinions. I would always keep it inside. With this school, you can't do that, because with all the activities around, you have to speak up. That's the thing.
What does a great school look like? It means turned-on teachers who have the freedom to experiment each and every day. It's about principals who are primarily facilitators and empowerers. And it's a place where parents get involved. It ends up being a place where kids love school. Now let me make it clear. I'm talking about schools that have standards, incredibly high standards, in fact, but standards that are met through mutual trust and mutual respect. In this program, we'll be visiting 8 public schools located throughout the United States. These schools represent a growing trend in education toward innovation. Each of these schools has its own individual philosophy. Though their programs are clearly distinctive, they all share a common goal: to involve everyone, parents, students, principals, and teachers, in helping to shape the direction of that school. Later on, we'll take a look inside some of these schools. But before we do that, let's step back and see how this approach has developed over the years.
In the early 1900s, philosopher John Dewey brought together centuries of thinking and education. He urged educators to treat children as people, not just recipients of information. He called for schools where students would be active participants. One of the first successful experiments was founded in 1924 by Josephine Duveneck, an outspoken pacifist who was deeply committed to education. We'll start our journey with Peninsula, an independent school where children have been enjoying learning for more than 65 years. From preschool through 8th grade, this school, like many other innovative programs, has one overriding goal: for children to believe in themselves, not only as learners, but as individuals. The process begins here in nursing school, where one of the most basic personal skills, learning how to make choices, is first introduced.
There's splatter in the paint. Do you want to get splattered? If you don't want to get splattered, maybe you ought to be a little farther away. Joseph wants to splatter. How about you, Polly?
Teachers help children to recognize what they feel and then encourage them to communicate.
Was that okay? Did you tell him about it? John? Joseph asked you not to flash the okay.
Children's behavior isn't labeled as good or bad. Rather, look at what's working, what isn't working, and makes sense to them. They feel as if they are more and more a part of a predictable environment. What they think and feel has something to do with how it's going to work.
The freedom which can be so exhilarating for children is often challenging for parents to accept.
As a parent, the lesson in letting go of the control that you think is important early on in a child's life. And as you go through Peninsula, you learn
that control is a least important part of being a parent, and that trusting is the most important part. The milestones that children pass as they grow are real important to them. And it's very easy when they're small for people to sort of take that for granted. To be noticed is a crucial thing for kids, particularly for children. To not go through life with sort of anonymity of being just one of many. Part of holding them on our laps and noticing the things they do that are particularly theirs and responding to their needs comes through in a way of saying to them that they are important individuals. They're growing to be the people that they're going to be, and that's just fine.
I think it's very important for children to train for succeeding at whatever. And all of these kids have different levels. Very good. Okay, Jimmy. Really? Okay. Start your phone. Let's start. Great. When Jimmy was singing, he started in another key. And then when it was clear that he wasn't in the key, we switched and had him sing in his key. And he sang it perfectly in his key.
Teachers know that when children enjoy what they're doing, they learn more easily. With this thought in mind, they make sure that reading is a pleasurable activity from the very beginning. Each child learns differently, so reading is introduced in a variety of ways. When children can follow their interests, learning comes naturally. It's easier for them to feel successful when they're choosing the activity. Teaching in this way requires patience and a special understanding which develops over time.
That's just out.
Woody has been teaching here for over 50 years.
No two children learn to read exactly the same way. And you have to respect the fact that some children learn almost automatically, and then some of them have a much harder time, and you have to tailor it. You just have to work with each child until you find what is going to be the magic way.
Parents come in when they can to assist the teacher. Helping out like this is rewarding for parents as well.
One hears over and over again teachers how they feel they've grown because they had a chance to get in, do work with them.
In this first grade science class, students are making their own experiments. The teacher has put out simple household supplies: baking soda, vinegar, iodine, and water, for the children to combine and watch the results.
I'm going to show you this, guys. Holly, Gillian, David, Galen, sometimes when you mix the iodine with the chemicals, you get this layer effect. You guys have showed me how to do this. Yeah. Sometimes you get 2 or 3 or 4 layers. And that's right. It looks like the iodine floating on top, doesn't it? Little feature here. Some kind of funnel there. Your ordinary interest is already there. Guiding them or helping them to see new things. I don't know. Showing them telling. Teaching at Peninsula may look easy, but for me personally, it's a rewarding, fascinating, interesting job that is very, very difficult.
The majority of teachers who come into non-traditional settings do have backgrounds in education. However, very few of them have training in alternative methods. In most schools, teachers meet together weekly where they support each other and work as a team to build the curriculum.
And up. High school.
Teachers have the autonomy to try out their own ideas, much in the same way that the children are trusted to make discoveries for themselves. In the second grade math class, students will be working with colored cubes which represent numbers. By stacking the blocks into groups of 10, they can see how many sets of 10 there are in larger numbers. The tactile experience of handling blocks which they can see and count makes math less abstract and easier to understand.
This kind of activity where the children are actually discovering, I think it's important to be relatively talented.
Teachers find that giving young children a balance of freedom and responsibility lays the groundwork for independent learning later.
Therefore gave me the question and looked further. It just stated the problem, and I therefore looked for the answers, and I questioned what the problem was to begin with, and I then went further than that. That was a valuable experience. This is not just the one thing, the whole, and question each little area.
In this third grade writing, students are learning to use their imaginations to write creatively. Before they work on their own, the teacher helps them to clarify their ideas.
The first thing you want to do is make a sentence about some action that took place.
Finding the right words to express their ideas puts demands on the children and be frustrating.
So, having to be scared.
The teacher doesn't give them answers. Instead, the students are encouraged to concentrate and think of original ways of writing down what they want to say. The teacher shows the students how to correct their own spelling and grammar errors. They realize that making mistakes is a normal part of learning. When children feel that their ideas are not being judged, they write more freely.
A bow, a sword, and wings, and a torch, and a case of gold. I came to a base. I saw millions of people. One shot at me. I ran and ran. I dropped one of my gloves. I got it. I jumped on this thing. I speeded to an edge. They found Atlantis, and they loved seafood. And one day they decided to go to a place where they had never gone. Suddenly I had an idea. If I just wait here, Ryan will come.
As in many other non-traditional schools, students aren't graded. Instead, the teachers send home written evaluations and have conferences with each child's parent.
We made the decision to enroll our daughter in Peninsula. We had, at that point, an expectation that she would be getting math and English, etc. But we weren't getting report cards. And so we assumed that she wasn't obtaining these skills. Well, it turned out she went on to a very fine public high school. We immediately found that, in fact, she had obtained these skills, notwithstanding the fact that we hadn't gotten these report cards. There was a different focus. It was a focus on the child.
Making things by hand has always been an important part of the curriculum. Every afternoon, the children choose from one of several workshops. They have a chance to explore and learn to focus their attention. The school encourages creativity and provides special teachers for these craft shops. Parents help out too by bringing in supplies and used tools to support these programs.
There you go. Okay.
Going into the wood shop, the children get a lot of self-confidence, but they also develop a lot of hand and eye coordination.
That was a little bit too much.
Being able to look at something down there and say, I'm going to hit that right on the head. I'm not going to hit my head. when you hit that nail, you can see it in their eyes. They raise the hammer, and bam. That person really feels good about himself. I mean, there's just a glow that happens. Really, wow, I can handle anything.
Over the years, people have donated looms for this weaving studio. Here, children not only create art, but have a chance to use skills from other classes, such as math.
Weaving is one of the most ancient crafts, and it's also a very mathematical way of thinking. I watch the children learn to think mathematically. They have to do actual figuring out how much yarn they're going to use. It makes sense why you need to quickly be able to add and subtract, and why you also need to be able to think in those orderly ways.
For children to feel capable is a priority for teachers. Though their training and classroom styles are very different, they all agree on one thing: the importance of building self-confidence.
Round and more. So it won't be too sharp. Is that the way you want it? What do you want to tighter?
In this metal shop, the teacher passes on his wisdom about how to craft just the right turn on a piece of copper jewelry.
Oh, bit. Yep. Stop what you think is the way you want it.
There's growing evidence that good education may not need to cost more. At this school, the budgeted cost per child is slightly less than the national average for public schools. Parents here represent a wide socioeconomic range. Many of the families work in the school for partial tuition. Students share in maintaining the school, too, by cleaning their own classrooms. The family atmosphere develops in many ways, like the carnival the fourth graders create for the youngest kids.
Hey, what a shot. The creating of it, the preparation, the organizing, and the bringing it on. For them to realize the scope of that, have it happen and succeed at it, is a wonderful thing.
You want red nose and a white face? Sometimes I get different. Make my nose.
Well, they have an awareness. They have a definite tenderness that they exhibit toward those younger children, and a protectiveness. And they want to have that child succeed, feel good about it. It's a thrill for them to be the person setting up the pin instead of the person aiming.
Okay, roll it again.
In this fourth grade class, the morning has been set aside for these children to make maps.
Chance for us to touch each other's faces. And how many opportunities we have to do that? And they've been over those tables looking into those faces of their classmates, and those faces in the pose, too. They're just with that face. Everyone helps that person relax. Putting on the plaster, especially around the nose and mouth, that can be very frightening. I think they all think. I think they see themselves in it too. There's a point when they're going to be the one at the table. That trust will be there in return. And it's scary a little bit, but they're taking care of each other.
Some of you had a hard time with it, it looked like. Was there a problem with the game that we should look at for the next time we play it?
A couple times I hit it over to the other side of the field. I was on the other team. And they were just all sitting there talking and weren't even paying attention. And then when it did come over there, they just...
Class meetings like this 5th grade discussion happen at the end of every day.
How about the teams thing? Did it seem like it was just one team that wasn't playing is what it boils down to?
Yeah.
Yesterday when I was playing, I kept on getting hit by Morgan and everything. And then I sat out.
I certainly have lots of days when I'm dealing with fights and arguments. We actually look at conflict resolution as part of our curriculum. I find it works better when I teach them ways to listen to each other.
It really annoys me. I always get big class no matter what. I got big class.
Does anyone have an idea of a better way to do things?
I think we should, like, hey, pick 2 teams or 3 teams. Do 1, and then every time after that, they play.
There are often a group of kids that are very shy. And one of the things that we work on during the year is making the classroom environment safe enough so that all kids are able to share.
Feeling acknowledged is important for children. The graduate recalls coming to Peninsula, where he could speak openly and felt he was listened to.
I got into a lot of trouble for what was described to me as talking back. Coming to Peninsula, all of a sudden I wasn't talking back. I was in this reciprocal relationship. I was being treated with respect that adults treated each other with.
In this geography class, students are learning how to read topographical maps. As in every academic class here, whenever possible, the children will learn by doing. Using the maps as guides, they'll be building clay mountains to scale.
These contour lines, they need to travel up the mountain. I'd like you to take yarn. Go around and try to maintain that same elevation. Elevation meaning how far up off the table.
No, I think it's supposed to...
Yeah, it's supposed to start with it.
Inch number 2, go.
Okay, number 2.
From the very beginning, teachers here discovered that combining different kinds of activities expanded children's thinking. One of Peninsula's first graduates remembers his own experience vividly.
Mrs. Dubin was a genius at bringing out her natural skill. That's how she built self-confidence. Finding how we could excel. I was very good at math, very good at science. I was not interested in history. I was not interested in learning writing skills. She had a very neat way of showing that those two related. The history of science, history of math, and writing about it were all tied together.
Integrating different disciplines is fundamental to this kind of education. The study of medieval history, for example, begins with library research and writing papers. Then, back in the classroom, the students hear lectures and work together constructing replica models. Educators find that self-directed groups present an ideal setting for learning, where the students not only present their own suggestions, but they learn to pay attention to each other's ideas.
Outside done, and we haven't got the inside done. Let's not spend time putting pants and touching the outside. Right. Okay, so I think that the inner itself, all the front.
Sparking children's interest is crucial to this way of learning. For example, this economics class begins with an auction.
We're talking your language, aren't we?
$2.
I got $2. Going once? Going twice? Sold for $2. Now let's focus away from the food and on to what's happened here, what's transpired. You had an auction, we sold some things, you brought them. Yeah. Okay, you lost them, you brought them. Okay. Why did you do that? Yes.
Telling us how wonderful it is, and starts getting kind of hungry and saying,
You mean you were influenced by my advertising? I did try to influence, and I did try to influence the pricing, and that's one of the principal elements of any economy, is pricing. And our economy.
Now I could come in, and I could present all that information, have them read it in the book, test it later. Not very much fun for either one of them. So I'm always looking for alternative ways to present the information so that they'll remember it, they'll carry it with them.
In the upper grades, students take more responsibility for their learning. These 7th graders are discussing the past year with their teacher.
I ask you a lot about what goes on, and I really want real feedback. I don't want you particularly worried about whether I like you or not like you because of something that you say, which sometimes happens. So let's not worry about that. Toby.
Never had enough creative writing assignments. I like creative writing assignments.
I constantly ask you. By the end of the year, in 7th grade, the kids are comfortable enough with me and comfortable enough with themselves in the group to be able to be fairly honest about what's going on.
You know, I found out this year that it helps when the teachers give it in a way that's fun, but it's also what I need. If I want to say this is going to be a boring assignment, then it's going to be boring. And if I say, oh, this is going to be really fun, most of the time it'll turn out fun.
All right, I'm going to roll down that side. Now.
When 10-15 came around sometimes, math time comes, I just get this kind of, it's like a reaction of, oh no, it's math, I don't want to do math. But then, and I don't know where that's, it's just a kind of a thing you do. And then I say, wait a minute, ease up, math is, there's nothing wrong with it, so go ahead and do your math.
We're looking at developing children's wisdom rather than just information. And that's a process which is always in process. It doesn't have as finite products. It's not as neatly packaged, but it feels as if there's a vitality there that is very important to education.
The first few years, there was never any question in either of our minds. The Christmas is blossoming and you're happy, and this seemed to be the ideal place for the whole family to be. The questions started coming when he got to something like 4th grade. And his cousins and other friends whose children are in public schools appeared to started doing homework and had things that he, to a certain extent, didn't seem to know about. And then the question started, is getting enough academics? After all, the world doesn't end with Peninsula. He has to be prepared for outside world.
In order to address concerns like these, every year recent graduates and a few parents are invited to speak about their experiences with high school.
I was nervous about myself, and it worked out fine. I didn't need to be so nervous. In all advanced classes, I did extremely well. So, if the parents can take it easy and not scare the life out of children,
attitudes are also a big difference. I mean, I still find a lot of people who they might not understand something, but they won't go up to the teacher and ask. And I feel that I really learned that. Be comfortable with teachers.
Graduates from alternative programs like Peninsula have learned how to learn. Most of Peninsula's graduates attend a large public high school, Menlo Avenue. There, the majority of them qualify for advanced standing classes.
These kids have self-discipline. They're very mentally mature. They're independent learners. They've been taught. They've been provided the skills to succeed on their own. You can give them a project, a science project. You can give them a paper or a homework assignment, and you can always be sure that their own originality will be reflected in their response.
Before graduating and going on to high school, the 8th graders continue the tradition of leaving a gift for the school. This year they decided to build a jungle gym.
They've developed real respect for themselves and are able to extend that to others. And the result is a very mature, optimistic student who
who has a great sense of his or her own ability to have a real effect on the world.
We're looking forward to graduating and the whole graduation thing and the night and everything. I also want everything to sort of stay the way it is. I just want to stay this way. Stay in 8th grade, stay in 13 for years.
Leslie McClure.
I just remember standing up on that stage and just thinking, like, all those people here care about me and they're all really happy for me, and just feeling like, you know, like Victoria's so nice to go, we got about 8 seconds to be an 8th grader, and then I gotta go out, be in the world. Made me know I'm a good person, and that no matter what happens, that I can come back to Peninsula, and it also gave me the courage that I don't have to come back here, that I know it without coming back
This kind of education has been evolving since the turn of the century in schools like Peninsula. But is it limited to these settings? In recent years, a growing number of public schools have been developing original programs. While each school has its unique character, they all have certain features in common. Innovative curriculum. The staff has the freedom to create original lessons based on the needs of their students. Non-competitive environment. Student progress is evaluated on an individual basis. Shared responsibility. Everyone, including students and parents, has a voice in what happens at their school. In a recent study conducted through the Brookings Institution in Washington, D.C., researchers surveyed more than 1,000 schools to identify common elements of successful programs. Working with a colleague from Stanford University, political scientist John Chubb came to the following conclusion.
Our research has established a couple of very important points about school performance. The first is that for a school to be effective, it has to be organized like a team, with a clear set of goals and mission, a strong principal, and teachers who work together closely as colleagues. We've also established that to get a team-like organization, you have to have a school with control over its own destiny, with autonomy from too much outside control. The final thing we've established is that autonomy does not come easily to America's schools.
There are schools which have succeeded in gaining autonomy, largely through building relationships of mutual trust with their superintendents and their school boards. We'll now look at 8 of these schools, beginning with a dramatic turnaround in New York City. Public School District 4 in East Harlem, New York encompasses some of the city's poorest sections. In this district, alternatives now outnumber traditional schools. Reason? They work.
This is a district of teachers, and it comes out of the fact that we're a school district that was somehow not successful in educating kids.
While he was superintendent, Medina saw the impact of alternatives in his district through a dramatic increase in reading scores. Before this approach was introduced, only 15% of the students were reading at or above grade level. Now that figure is up to 65%.
We have been successful in educating poor, disadvantaged children in this district. The statistics are there. And what they tell us is that somehow kids like coming to school.
At KTEH, one of the well-established schools, learning begins with learning how to communicate.
I know it's my house because I hear Kate jumping around. My door. Oh, that's good.
Children hear, they see, they think, they know things. What's important then is to validate what they know to be true. One of the ways in which I validate what children say is by writing down their words. I may write down one word, I may writes on an entire sentence, and they see it in print. I said that. My teacher thinks that what I say is important. It's so important she's writing it down so that other people can see it too.
There's no mystery about what we're doing. All of the educational statistics and all of the research tells us throughout the country as educators that, in fact, those children that have that support are children that come to school ready to learn.
At City Magnet School in Lowell, Massachusetts, all of the students are members of a micro-society. Here, basic skills are taught with the purpose of preparing children to become self-reliant citizens. They run their own marketplace, where they manage businesses and sell handmade products. They can also take out business loans from a full-service bank, where they deposit their earnings in money called mogen.
It's just so, vibrantly different, or it's just so interesting, really, because they not only, they don't just tell you, teachers don't tell you a fact, and you write it down and forget about it. They'll keep reminding you and reviewing you, and you use it. You actually use what you learn.
All of the basics are integrated into the activities of the micro-society. For example, math skills are taught in the bank, where percentages and interest rates have real meaning.
What we teach isn't stockpiling knowledge, also utilization of that knowledge, which makes the student feel, I'm learning for a purpose.
Discipline is not handed down from adults to children. Students share in that responsibility. They write and amend their own laws, and when those laws are broken, they use their legal system to bring cases to trial.
September 7th. Can you please tell the judge and the jury exactly what happened?
All I saw was Norman push John into the locker and punch him because I was talking to Mark the whole time, and when I turned around,
Our children have ownership of the program, and having this ownership provides them with more incentive to learn.
At Clara Barton in Minneapolis, Minnesota, the curriculum is built on the understanding that every child has his or her own individual learning style. This school, winner of the President's School of Excellence Award, works with children's differences by developing lessons which involve all of the senses.
that's the heart. It's another almost part of a ball.
These lungs are
These are the kinesis.
Most of what happens in traditional schools is about 80% visual. Consequently, those children who are not visual, those children who are auditory, or those children who are tactile kinesthetic are really left out of the picture. We try very hard to plan our lessons, plan our units, so that children have a visual component, an auditory component, and a tactile kinesthetic component, and all
In this math class, students are taught geometric shapes by using their bodies as lines and angles.
Alright, 8-sided figure with 6 people. Let's see how you can solve that problem. Okay.
There are many people who learn best. More their bodies involved, muscles, and sort of every fiber of their being is involved.
Kids in the back, this group has they tried a lot of different things, and they finally came up with using their hands. So we have a small octagon in here. 1 line, 2 lines, 3 lines, 4 lines, 5 lines, 6 lines, 7 lines, 8 lines. There we go. You got it. All right.
At Davis Alternative in Jackson, Mississippi, the school is structured so that, in addition to learning academic skills, students also learn the skill of working together.
Then we're going to be working on cooperative and every person in the group has a job to do. Our task today is finding words with capital letters in sentences. Move down to our mindset. Happy talker, sender.
Given our diverse population, racially and economically, it is not enough simply to organize the setting
but we do in fact plan for cooperative interaction. We're teaching a way of living and working together where they take on roles, where they learn to support one another, to encourage one another, and work for common good. At Tanglewood Open Living School in Jefferson County, Colorado, the program evolves from the children's interest. Students select projects and topics which intrigue them, and then study those. As they work on the subjects they've picked, they're shown how to apply academic skills.
How are you going to correlate the horses and ponies with mathematics?
Make graphs of how many there are.
Another way the school supports children's interests is by helping them find internships and apprenticeships in the local community. Tanglewood students choose their own jobs and then volunteer 30 hours over several months. Instead of money, they receive class credit, on-the-job experience, and a chance to contribute.
A major need that is not being addressed in general, that we have to address, is the students' need to be needed, to offer something, not to just receive. You can't do that sitting in a classroom taking tests all the time. So all of those things, I think there's a movement in the society now for service as a part of what we expect. People don't know how to do it. I think alternative schools have been doing it historically.
Tanglewood's apprenticeship program began 14 years ago. Brian Robbins, a 9th grader, chose to do his apprenticeship as a guide in Denver's Children's Museum.
You learn a lot doing this, though. You learn what not to do, what to tell the kids when they're doing something.
Stay with the car. Gotta walk on the wood, okay? Stand on the wood.
A lot of times it impresses people. And I get a lot of questions like, shouldn't you be in school? I say, no, this is for school. I get credit for this.
The apprenticeship experience they often feel is one of the things that contributed most to their education. They've gone out and done something important that was seen as important in the world outside of school.
At Raymond Parks in Cambridge, Massachusetts, everyone in the school community becomes an active participant. The curriculum is developed by the teachers themselves, using discussions more than lectures. Throughout the school, parents are participants too, and give what time they can to help out.
Parents do contribute really significantly to this school, not only whether it's fundraising or coming into the classroom, but it also gets back to the kids, in the sense that their kids see that their parents are really concerned about their education.
The caring environment created by parents and teachers becomes an example for the students themselves. As part of their schoolwork, older students are given opportunities to tutor the younger ones.
Oh, what's all of that? Good.
Using a board game, Brett, who's a 7th grader, is helping these students recognize vowels. In the same spirit, she knows she'll be able to ask for help with her classes.
Math is not one of my favorite subjects, but if I had to have a math class anywhere, I think it would be at Steve's room. Because, if you need help, he says, oh, I don't do one-on-one. Go get help. You can go sit with your friend and help each other.
Daddy? Yeah. Do you like mind sharing it?
I like students to solve problems as a group. I want them to bond with each other. I don't want them to try to do a problem in isolation, but to share information.
Right? Well, actually, there's actually no, there's 40 stops. There are 40 stops, but it only takes us 7 stops. Because you don't put back how many different colors are there? 2.
I have thousands of them. Okay? And they're all the same color. Okay? I have one color.
Everyone brings their individualities, especially the teachers, who have the freedom to develop their own classroom style.
You really got to be creative about it. You really have to close your textbook and teach.
At Central Park East High School in East Harlem, New York, the teachers organize the program so that every student will develop a strong sense of self-respect. Achieving this goal for the students begins with the respect the teachers show for each other. At their weekly meetings, there's an open exchange of ideas as they go over their problems and working out their classes, talk about what they're teaching.
And it was fun because we come in the morning and talk each day about what happened. What happened in your class, what happened in your class. We're really able to share the process when it was happening.
The secondary school has been very successful in retaining students. So it very clearly is not within the norm of what's happening in the rest of the city. That is that in communities like ours, it's estimated almost 60% of the kids drop out. That's not happening in our school.
In this social studies class, students are in charge. Each student chooses a topic and does background reading, then leads a class discussion. This week, the subject is drugs.
Why?
Giving one student the responsibility for leading the group is probably one of the first steps toward allowing that student to feel as if he or she has power. The goal of the school is to empower kids in a way that will allow them to become successful adults.
In this atmosphere, teenagers feel safe and will talk honestly about what's on their mind.
That one drug, go out and kill somebody and rob them, and not just rob one person and get money like that for the drug, rob more and more people.
They know that there's crack out there. They know there's heroin out there. They know that there are people who live in the same building with them that use these drugs. They know that in their day-to-day lives, they're struggling against falling prey to these very drugs. All the while during that discussion, most of you kept returning to the same issue about who's going to be affected by this drug, by the change in drug.
Yeah.
At the end of their class session, students decide to write a letter to their congressman, letting him know some of their feelings about drugs.
Get this translated into Spanish?
Yeah.
Can we get this translated into Spanish? So that we'll have it in language.
That school now is an oasis for learning. It's a school that regardless of the surroundings and regardless of even the facility itself, the way it looks in some places, it's a school where kids learn. Where we know that those kids are going to be responsible adults once they graduate.
The foundation for what we've been seeing is a focus on human values in our schools. There's a growing appreciation for the importance of this emphasis in today's changing world. Learning begins with learning how to communicate. Academic content has meaning when students are involved. When the curriculum is responsive, it meets a wide range of different learning styles. Mutual respect develops when children work together. Students are eager to contribute to the community. Everyone can be an integral part of the school. Self-respect grows when students take on real responsibilities. Providing real options for children within a traditional system of education is a challenge. The New Orleans Free School is a testament to the commitment of its founder and principal, Bob Ferris. Since the 1960s, Ferris has kept his idealism alive, struggling for the right to create and carry out his vision.
We wanted to demonstrate that we could, in fact, in a public school, do it differently and be very successful.
Bob Ferris is especially proud of the school's choice program, which offers exciting extracurricular activities during the school day, along with the regular academic schedule. Students sign up for an activity they'll attend each afternoon that week. Choices range from photography to sign language.
1, 2, now I say my ABC. Tell me what you think of.
What we're fighting for is, not just to be different for different sake, but it is to create a very distinctive, very unique program.
The district office has been cautious in approving this approach. For example, Ferris met with opposition when he chose not to give letter grades. However, the results have shown that a non-competitive environment is supportive of learning. Over the last 10 years, students here usually score in the top 20% of the district. Administrators have begun to appreciate the value of programs like these.
As I assess myself personally relative to alternatives, I find that I throw in everything. It has, I guess, it's the work of staff is very committed. And I think I have contributed much of my growth as an educator to them. Because they opened my eyes and I found out that we don't always have to do the exact same. Teach the same way or have it at the same time for boys.
The real program development has to come at the school level. If we could move our school systems towards encouraging schools to really be unique or distinctive, you're going to heighten the commitment because it's something the people there are creating and love and want to nurture.